Howdy, 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 and welcome back to MCubed. I am Harris, your host, and I apologize for being so late in the day. I know we try to usually do these things during the daytime and on Tuesdays. Tuesday was busy. Wednesday got busy. I had to go pick up people from the LAX airport, and LAX is a difficult beast to manage. So I did what I could, and I pushed it back. I wanted to go see Dungeons and Dragons today in 4DX, but I just wasn't able to get tickets on time for that. So I'm gonna go see that earliest I can tomorrow. Hopefully around 4 is my guess, and I'm gonna go see a good person tonight and see how that is. Morgan Freeman, a little Florence Pugh. It'll be fun. Howdy, Shelly. How you doing? I'm switching up a little bit. I'm not gonna talk so much box office today. I've got like 7 or 8 topics I'd like to talk about. I'll take like a little break. Not really. I'm gonna talk in like the middle. I guess I'll have like a breaking point, and then I'll end on the Bad Batch finale. So you can stay for Star Wars if you want to, Shelly, but I'm gonna put the little Star Wars bit at the end because there was a great Star Wars finale yesterday. 2 actual, I guess, episodes that made up the finale, and it was excellent. It was for animation. People dog on animation, but Star Wars animation is wonderful. But we'll get to that at the end. All right, so to start off, I just kind of want to talk about kind of things going on right now. The first thing I saw in the last couple of days is within the film industry, I guess, if I can get English out right now. Questlove, you know, the guy that kind of runs Jimmy Fallon's band and all of his late night kind of stuff, he is actually directing in Aristocats movie. And, you know, Disney's live action stuff has been very hit or miss. I really loved the way they started it out with Jon Favreau's Jungle Book. I guess they didn't truly start it out with that. Cinderella and a couple other ones came up, and those were all decent as well. They had a slew of pretty good ones, actually. And then, as much as I love Jon Favreau, you know, you just heard me gush about some Bad Batch. I can gush about Mandalorian all day, but we'll probably do that either tomorrow or Friday, because tomorrow might be busy too. So we'll see if we turn a Theater Thursday into a Theater Friday. One day late. What can I say? But an Aristocats movie made by Questlove. I still feel bad for Questlove because of the whole Will Smith slap thing last year. Of course, the slap and all the situation that happened after happened instead of Questlove actually being able to talk about what he wanted to talk about, winning an Oscar. And now that the guy's, hey, what's happening, Schmook? Hey, no worries. I know you're Central Time. A little later. Go get them kiddos ready for life tomorrow morning. Don't wait up on us. But yeah, no. Questlove directing an Aristocats movie. I'm intrigued by it. I love the Aristocats. It's one that always kind of sticks with me from childhood. You know, it's just a fun movie. It's got a lot of good music to it, and Questlove being involved with particularly the music side of things, I think will do really, really well with it. And I don't know, I'm intrigued. The guy literally won an Oscar for filmmaking in a way, filmmaking with music. I mean, it was definitely kind of a bridging the gap kind of Oscar. And I think if he's able to do that, what's to say he can't do a freaking Aristocats movie? I don't know. I have not liked Disney's live action recent remakes of all the classic kind of stuff. Their Pinocchio movie with Tom Hanks was atrocious, which made Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio movie that much better. Still don't think it should have won that Oscar. I needed some Shrek love for Puss in Boots there. But anyway, Questlove directing an Aristocats movie seems like a good idea. I like the idea of it. I think it'll be fun. I think that it's good family fun for everybody. I'm just worried about it maybe going a Cats direction. I don't think it'll go Cats direction. I don't even think it'll go Lion King. I think it'll kind of like bridge the gap and make it a more modern, not Who Framed Roger Rabbit. That's not the right thing to equate it to, but more that sense where it's like Men in Black, where there's a little side character popping up off you. I think the human and the CGI aspect of things will be better done. Kind of like I never actually watched the entirety of the film, so I don't know the quality of it, but I feel like it'll be more in the vein of the way they made Lady and the Tramp. And I still need to watch Lady and the Tramp, the new one. I don't really have like a need or desire to, but just for the sake of it, I guess. Might be a good like date night thing sometime. I don't know, but we'll watch it eventually, you know. So let's just keep going. Let's go down this row of things that I want to talk about. Oppenheimer is 3 hours long, and see, I was planning on maybe having somebody come talk with me over here, and this was gonna be my question. I was gonna say, is 3 hours gonna be too long of a movie for you? Because you know damn well 3 hours is not long for me. I'll go sit in a 4 or 5 hour movie and be happy. I could go watch Lonesome Dove in a theater and watch all like 6 hours of it and be the happiest of campers. So Matt Damon kind of confirmed that Oppenheimer is going to be 3 hours, maybe a little over 3 hours long. Christopher Nolan's longest film, not by like that long of a shot, because Interstellar is really, really long. But 3 hours, is that going to affect anybody in the chat? Maybe is that going to affect the way that you go see that movie? Are you going to be less likely to go view a 3 hour movie, even though it's a big Christopher Nolan epic and it's an Oppenheimer epic? Obviously, Oppenheimer epic is not in our vocabs yet. But yet, I think is the key word there, because I mean, Oppenheimer's story about making the nuclear bombs is just, it's terrifying and magnificent in its own way. Terrifyingly magnificent might be a good way to quote that. But 3 hours, that's a lot for your average viewer. I think it's a good enough story and it's an intriguing enough story. And with Christopher Nolan at the helm, kind of making a lot of it black and white, which is interesting. Black and white IMAX. That's going to be really cool and really intriguing for me, just as a film lover. And as a history buff, Oppenheimer's going to do well. But will 3 hours thwart you from going to go sit in a seat opening weekend or 2 weekends after to go check this out? I don't know. It's not going to do that to me, but let me know if it will in the comments, and let's talk about it, you know? But let's keep going down this list. We're going to go into the Marvel Mayhem aspect of today. I'm going to try to keep this all a little more positive, because Marvel is not necessarily in the most positive state at the moment. It's always doing well. It's a well-oiled machine, but that oil is leaking, I guess. I was going to say they need some WD-40, but they don't need it right now. They need a cloth to wipe up all this oil that's spilling over there. But Liv Tyler is returning for Captain America New World Order, Captain America 4. That's our best Marvel news for the day. And it's more like for the week. I mean, this is a couple days old anyway. But it's fun to talk about it anyway. I really enjoyed Liv Tyler alongside Ed Norton, in the original Incredible Hulk movie. Obviously, I like Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk. I don't necessarily love all the smart Hulk stuff going on. I liked it originally, and now I'm kind of tired of it. I want to see that brutal, cool Hulk again. But Liv Tyler returning, I like Liv Tyler. I mean, Steven Tyler's daughter. I mean, Arwen from Lord of the Rings. She's excellent in every sense of the word, and she just is so talented. So I think she can do well with anything Marvel throws at her. I doubt it's going to be a huge role by any stretch. But I guess I also don't expect Mark Ruffalo to appear in here, so I don't think their chemistry really matters. But I'm intrigued to see what her chemistry with Ruffalo is going to be like, just compared to how her chemistry with Norton was back in 2008. Because, you know, he helped start the MCU alongside Iron Man. Didn't last all that long, but the character's still going, of course, which is cool. So I'm intrigued with Liv Tyler. I think that'll be really interesting with Harrison Ford playing Thunderbolt Ross as well. So things are happening. What do you think about that? Let me know. I think it's a good idea to bring her back. I really enjoyed Tim Roth. There we go. Oh my God, I'm mixing up my peoples. I do like Eli Roth though. Now I'm mixing up English. But Tim Roth is an excellent actor. I enjoyed him in She-Hulk. I thought he was one of the better parts of She-Hulk. He just seemed like he was actually having a good time on the set instead of trying to, you know, really get a certain prerogative off or whatever it may be. Just She-Hulk was all right. It just wasn't funny. I wanted it to be funnier, or even more meta. Less meta, maybe a little bit of all of the above. Anyway, off topic. Liv Tyler's coming back. I think, even though I didn't super enjoy She-Hulk, Tim Roth did really well in there. And even though I didn't super enjoy Captain America and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. There we go. That's what I can't think of. Falcon and the Winter Soldier I thought part of it was really, really good, and parts of it you could just tell it was just way too edited, and they wanted to do more with the storyline and just weren't able to. I think that was pretty evident in the final product. Hopefully, because there's just still gleams of greatness in both of those projects, She-Hulk and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Sure, we don't have Chris Evans, but Anthony Mackie's a great, great, great actor, and I think the rest of the team behind Captain America 4 really could do well. I believe Stephen Marcus and Christopher McFeely. Yeah, I think I said that right. I believe they are still the writers for the Captain America series, and they have been so far since, I guess, the second film. Maybe the first. Don't quote me on that, but I know since Winter Soldier for sure. They did Infinity War. They did Endgame. They're great writers. So if they're involved, Mackie's involved. I know Danny Torres is involved as the new Falcon guy. We've got Liv Tyler back. Probably Harrison Ford as Thunderbolt Ross before he jumps into the Thunderbolts film. I don't know if Thunderbolts is coming out before or after this one. But either way, I am intrigued. Are you intrigued? What do you think about Liv Tyler? Because Liv Tyler's pretty cool. Steven Tyler's daughter coming into the MCU. Why not? Why not? Let's keep moving. This one might not be as fun for Marvel, but Victoria Alonso, Kevin Feige's like second, maybe third in command. It just depends on if you kind of view Nate more or Victoria Alonso more as the second in command. But nonetheless, one of like the three heads up under Feige at Disney. And the Marvel aspect of Disney is no longer there. Of course, she headed up the VFX aspect of Disney and of Marvel. And that's kind of been lacking as of late. And I don't say that in a bad way because there's just been so many freaking projects to do. It's almost impossible to do that. But I mean, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania is the perfect example. Obviously, Wakanda Forever was going to be a big movie. And of course, you want to put a lot of budget towards that. But at the behest of Ant-Man Quantumania, the film that was advertised as being this Lord of the Rings, this Star Wars type epic fantasy kind of thing. But I don't know. Put your money where your mouth is where I guess I go with that. And Marvel just didn't. And I don't say that in a bad way. I'm saying like if it's gonna be that Lord of the Rings Star Wars epic, I love Wakanda Forever. I love Black Panther. I love the character and I love everything. And that was a very important and pivotal film to get right. But arguably, they still didn't even really get it right. They didn't not get it right, but it was just kind of a in the middle type of movie compared to how much everybody adored and loved and fantasized over the first one. Because the first Black Panther is sure that third act isn't perfect, but the film itself is quite wonderful. The second one I enjoyed. It's just it doesn't hit in the same ways, and I think that Marvel itself would have been smarter to allocate more time and effort towards the thing they promoted as being this big epic sci-fi fantasy kind of thing. Who am I to say though? I'm definitely not a post-production guy in the VFX or the editing room. That's not my forte. That's not my wheelhouse. So I'm really, my opinion doesn't matter, of course, there, but it didn't make as much sense for that to be allocated in that way. And the person that's heading that up is Victoria Alonso. And yes, she's done excellent for Marvel for 17 years. Probably more like the last 15 years because the last 2 years of Marvel, I think the whole kind of companies kind of just passing things on until they really find something to hit a stride on. I think that stride was meant to be Ant-Man. Maybe not. We'll see with their next couple projects. I think they're really kind of changing their tune with all Bob Iger, if I can speak, saying that he's gonna just cut down the amount of time and money sent towards both Star Wars and Marvel, which I think is good because yes, getting a bunch of money, being able to pay everybody super well, doing all these different things, and really making big gigantic movies is a great time, but it is less artful in a way. I always say I'm Mr. Capitalist. You know, I grew up in Beaumont, Texas. ExxonMobil's headquartered there. Oil money's everywhere. Like money's money. I like to make money, but if you don't have art behind a film project, what's the point? You need art. If you just want to make money, go to a different industry. Projects that involve this much time, effort, and just mental allocation from so many people deserve a little more love. And they haven't really gotten all that much love in the MCU the last couple of years. And part of that, I think, is due to just how much they try to put on themselves, which, tossing a lot on yourselves is do what you can, but you don't want to put, I guess, don't do too much too quickly. And yes, they had a decade to kind of like get this all amped up, but at the same time, they went from 4 projects a year to 8, 9, 10 projects a year. Interesting, but back to Victoria Alonso. None of that's what got her fired. None of that. Also, I guess I'll skip over the politics. I don't want to get all political or anything, but she said X-Men should not be called X-Men because there's so many women, there's so many other characters of different genders, etc., etc. within X-Men, that it should be called something different. I don't know if she wanted to call it X-Them. That's what people say online. Are you trusting people online? I don't. So I don't know if that's what she would have called it. I don't know if she ever even said what she would have called it. But she did aggravate a lot of people by saying X-Men shouldn't be called X-Men. And that doesn't truly aggravate me, but also like, hey, the X-Men is like the most progressive comic there is. And they're great comics. Just keep them as is. Words are words. What's the old saying? Sticks and stones may break your bones, but words may never hurt you. God, I can't speak today. But it was just a big nothing burger for me, and I think it just hurt Disney's public, I guess, sway, just because getting too political for the sake of it makes no sense, especially if you're a big company like that. There's reasons to not become too political, and instead of doubling down on politicalness is not going to do your favors with half of a group of people always, and maybe not half, maybe a third of a group of people, whatever it may be. There will be a certain subset of people that do not agree with that. So if you're a big company, hey, stick behind your beliefs all day. I mean, I wish Chick-fil-A opened on frickin' Sundays, but good for Chick-fil-A for sticking with their stuff, I wish they were open on Sundays because every time I want frickin' Chick-fil-A, it's a Sunday, of course. But stick to your beliefs. But I guess just kind of going out there and poo-poo in certain states, doing different things. There's a lot. It's not in the best interest of the company you work for. And sometimes that could even be a breach of contract. Nothing she ever said was a breach of contract, but was a breach of contract that got her fired at the end of the day. Was that I don't believe it won an Oscar, but it was at least nominated for an Oscar. It was Argentina in 1985. And she was an executive producer on there, but she did not produce that through Disney. I believe it was Amazon. Don't quote me on that, but I believe it was. And that is a breach of contract. If you're an executive at a different parent company, they don't want you going to executive produce other projects, whether it be a short film or it be a long format feature at all with other companies, and rightfully so. Why would you want someone under you going to work for the competition, your direct competition? It's not like, oh, let's collaborate on something. It's like, bye for a little bit. I'm gonna go over here and do this, and then I'm gonna come back. If you do that, you're really not gonna be allowed back, and her bosses said so. So I think it's kind of the perfect storm in a bad way for Marvel at the moment, because just so many things are kind of adding up, and it's kind of like, once again, not trying to get political, but all the culture war and all that kind of stuff, it's changing. I guess Disney's tune the last few years have kind of been interesting in the whole woke conversation and everything like that. We talk about that in Sidetrack and within sci-fi, within fantasy, and how it's always been an element, how it's not always an integral element, but sometimes is, and if done right, it's part of a story. It's people changing and the world changing around them. But if things can definitely also be like way heavy overhanded in a lot of ways, and Disney is one of those companies that heavy overhands things. Was Victoria Alonso part of that? Possibly, but it's not what got her fired at the end of the day. What do you think should have gotten her fired? I guess that, or the fact that she's executive producing other projects for other companies. No longer, of course. So now who knows? She might go work for Amazon or whatever company did produce Argentina 1985 alongside her. Who knows? Who knows? It's all speculation. She is an excellent executive just in general. So her career is not going to hurt from this, I don't think. Uh, but the Marvel kind of that well-oiled machine may definitely hurt from this. And we'll jump back to Marvel in just a second. Yeah, we'll jump back to Marvel. I almost skipped ahead of myself there. Let's go to another controversial topic real quick. Not that controversial, but a little controversial. Well, it technically kind of controversial. Anyway, Lionsgate just dropped John Wick 4. I've seen it once. I need to go see it again. I saw it in 4D, and it was. I love 4D movies because you get to go sit. It's like a freaking roller coaster that you're in, but not everybody's used to 4D movies. The crowd that went to go see John Wick 4 was most definitely not meant to go see 4D movies, or they're not used to going to see 4D movies. Because most of the time, when you go to a 4D movie, the first movies I saw in 4D were the Sonic movies, Sonic 1 and Sonic 2. So much fun. Top Gun I saw, Avatar The Way of Water I saw, all great. But Nope I saw. Nope was really good. But it's like very specific movies for 4D movies. Creed 3 was cool. And then I saw John Wick 4, and nobody in that movie theater was ready to watch John Wick 4 in 4D. Nobody knew what it was. I'm assuming that most people thought it was just a normal movie ticket, and okay, we're going to watch it. Oh, 4D? What's that? 3D with like a little water spraying at us or something? No. You're on a roller coaster this entire movie. And every time John Wick falls down a flight of stairs, falls off a building, gets shot, you're going to feel a little bit of everything. It was the most enjoyable time to just. I legitimately need to go watch the movie again. And I've been trying to convince a couple friends of mine to go see it with me, just because it's such a good movie to see with people. But I barely paid attention to the movie, honestly, just because it was just so much fun just to listen and react to people's reactions. That was just a great time. Nobody knew what to expect, and every time you got rocked around with John Wick, the entire theater was just up in applause and just laughing and having a good time. It was a great experience. With that being said, Lionsgate has released John Wick 4, and it's good. It's great. The parts I remember, of course, are quite excellent. Like, awesome. But Lionsgate released this film in Russia as well. And it's the first United States kind of like wide release that has been released in Russia since the Ukraine and Russia war started. Now, there's a multitude of ways to look at this. You could look at it like, oh, that's bad. We don't want that. I'm kind of choosing to look at it in the way of like maybe this could bridge the gap between. I mean, there's nothing like cinema to like really bring people together. Like I said a second ago, it's a great movie to go see with people. You kind of bring these cultures together through cinema, and obviously John Wick is I mean, his character is Belarusi. I mean, they call him Jardani, you know, so he's kind of got Russian Belarus ties and stuff. So it makes sense for them to want to release this film day one in Russia as well. What do y'all think about that? Go in the comments. Let me know. Do you actually think that's a good idea for Lionsgate? Do you think it's not a good idea? Obviously, they've already done it, so it's kind of just opinionated at this point. I think it might open maybe not it's not going to open peace discussions between like Biden and Putin or anybody. It's not going to open discussions between Zelensky and Putin, but maybe it'll start opening the peace in people's hearts. I know it's weird to say that through and about an action film. Hey, but humans are violent, and one thing that we like is to just watch people do cool things. And maybe through some of that coolness, we can kind of bridge the gap a little bit. Just spitballing. I'm no political expert or anything. I'm not even a movie expert. I'm just a movie loving dude that likes talking about it a lot. So here we are, and we're talking about it. But what do you think? Because I'm on the fence. I'm fence riding there. I don't think it's necessarily bad. I don't think it's necessarily good. I think it has potential to be good. I don't think there's potential to be bad. But you may. And open up my mind and help me see the right side of things, I guess, or whatever it may be in the comments below. But besides that, just a little bit more about John Wick 4 while we're here. They're talking spinoffs. And I can't tell you how this film ends, but I actually think everybody's really enjoying John Wick 4, and I really enjoyed every little bit that I saw. But, you know, right now it's kind of like bullet points for me because I was laughing at the theater for the most part of the movie. But the bullet points in my head kind of they line up. I don't know if I like 2 or 4 the least amount of the movies, but 1 and 3 are just cinema perfection. So I adore both of those. The 4th one I do enjoy a lot, but I did not like the way it ended, and I won't get into that. We won't go spoilery right here, but I did not like the way it ended. And it makes it particularly hard to set up spinoffs with the way it ended. Not spinoffs, to continue the John Wick story the way it ended. And I don't know how they plan on doing things, but one thing they have talked about is spinoffs. And Lawrence Fishburne's talked about a Bowery King spinoff. I think that would be really cool because we've obviously seen kind of the high-class upper echelon aspect of the assassins and their world. But we obviously know the Bowery King kind of runs all the homeless kind of, at least aspect of New York. So who knows? I think this one could be really interesting. In Bowery King explains a different side to the John Wick universe that we're not necessarily 100% used to. I think it'd be cool. It's not the one that I would probably shoot for at first, because we do get the Continental television series this year, or maybe early next year. I think it's late 2023. Maybe it's 2024, but I think it's late 2023. And I think that sounds cool, but that obviously is going to cover like the upper echelon aspect of the assassin world. So as much as I am enjoying that aspect of the films, that aspect of all of these characters and their worlds, I'd love to go to the Bowery King and really get in the nitty-gritty aspect of those kind of assassins. It's just such an interesting kind of world, and I'm more excited for this like John Wick stuff than like Marvel movie stuff right now. It's that good of a franchise, and I think if they keep this level of production quality, the sky is the limit. I mean, Chad Stahelski being the guy that directs these movies was Brad Pitt's old stunt doubles for like 15, 20, 30 years, something like that. Maybe not 20 or 30 years, but maybe 15, 20. It was a decent amount of time. So he knows fighting in and out, and that's obviously why the films are doing so good, et cetera, et cetera. But wow, I'm really just looking forward to more John Wick stuff. And one of the things that I think would do good spin-off wise would be a Kane spin-off. Donnie Yen's character was very Rogue One-like, which, you know, my Star Wars heart enjoyed. But the blind assassin was just a really cool kind of aspect of things, and we've all seen it before. Daredevil's cool, Stick is cool, and other, I guess, I know there are a couple others that I'm just not thinking off the top of my head. Daredevil and his mentor Stick obviously are the first two that come to mind with something like that. But blind assassins they're not a dime a dozen, but they're not an unpopular kind of trope. But Donnie Yen just brings something magical to everything he touches, and yes, it was magical again. And I'd love to see a Kane spinoff. This guy perfected blind, cool fighting with Rogue One, and then upped the ante for this. And that ante was upped to everybody's enjoyment. And I would absolutely adore having a spinoff around him. Prequel, sequel, stuff that he's doing right now. Why did he stop fighting? Kind of like John Wick did. I don't know. I'd like to see. They could do some stuff about Mr. Nobody from this movie, the tracker. That I think would be the thing that I would be most interested in personally. Besides Kane, I don't know. Those two would be kind of my two that I'd go, which would be the best spinoff? I'd shoot for those two first. Bowery King sounds awesome, but that's the third most excited kind of like thing that they could do. The Ballerina with Ana de Armas, the sequel slash I guess spinoff of the John Wick movies, sounds excellent. The whole cast and crew is wonderfully put together. So I'm excited for that. Very excited for that. We'll see how it is when it comes out. But I have the highest of expectations, and I really fully expect them to meet them. So it's expanding. What do you think about that? Do you prefer TV shows? Would you want like a tracker TV show and like a continental TV show? And then Ana de Armas' Ballerina spinoff about like the Russian ballerina assassins, and then maybe a spinoff with Kane, and you get that cool blind assassin kind of movie. I think there are options, and I think they should be very careful about executing them, but execute them nonetheless, because they really do have a really well-told world that they've built up. I'm a world-building just nerd until the end of until the cows come home, as they say down in Tejas. But their world building was just I don't have words for how much I enjoy it. It's just been such a fun thing to go back to. It's something like my mom and dad enjoy it. Usually that type of movie I'd be like, yeah, my dad and I enjoy watching it. Every time I go back home, we'll watch something like that together. Hell no. We'll watch that, but my mom will come pop in too. Like everybody, it doesn't matter how actiony it is. They're legitimately well made and they're legitimately fun. And that's what you want out of films. And thank you for making him, Chad Stahelski. Thank you, Lionsgate. Whether you agree with them putting stuff up in Russia or not, you got to let me know that down there below. But they're making good product, and they're really pushing the envelope with what you can do within fighting and film. And that's all you can ask from filmmakers. So next up, we're going to go back to a little controversy, huh? Let's talk a little controversy. So, starting back with Marvel, Jonathan Majors has been arrested for assault. I believe he was bailed out, and it was assault and harassment charges were the specific charges on him. Yeah, that happening right after Victoria Alonso. That's a heavy hit for Marvel. I don't really know how to feel about it. Obviously, people are innocent until proven guilty, but it doesn't look good. And Marvel could most definitely be losing their biggest new character. I mean, that's losing Thanos. That's losing their new Thanos. That's huge. That's who they have their next 5 to 10 years completely based off of. And sure, you can recast Kang fairly easily, especially because he's so multiverse oriented. It hits Marvel at a bad time, especially with everything going on, especially with kind of the lack of interest, because the interest is declining just from numbers, just numerically. Look at Ant-Man; it's going to be like the lowest, I think, grossing film, and it might even be lower grossing than The Incredible Hulk. I'm not sure. I'll have to look that one up later, and we might talk about that on Thursday or Friday. But yeah, there's so much going on over there, and I hope good things for the company. I enjoy most of the things they do, but wow, it's just not looking pretty right now. I don't know exactly what to say about Jonathan Majors there. If you have personal opinions, let me know down below. But it's just a dicey situation, and I don't know if he's going to be around in the MCU that much longer, especially after just this and Creed 3, and then wow, it's not good. But on the note of not good, charges set for people that are doing bad things in Hollywood, I guess. Let's talk a little Justin Roiland. I love Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty's great. Dan Harmon has always been the genius behind it, and that's always kind of what I've thought. But Justin Roiland just brings kind of a riff and a weird, nerdy, incoherent joy to things, I guess. I guess he got that joy from doing things that were not very joyous to others. I don't want him to come back, honestly. I don't think he is the right person to come back. Mimics and voice actors that do mimics and mimic work are wonderful with their jobs. They are phenomenal at what they do. Hire a couple mimics. The studio could literally save money by hiring 3, 4, 5 people, and you only need 1 or 2 that can actually like do a multitude of voices in the stead of Justin Roiland, and you don't have to pay as much because Justin Roiland was a big guy technically, because he had his Squatch Games, he had his stuff with Hulu, Koala Man, and Solar Opposites, and Rick and Morty, and I'm a fan of every single one of those projects that we just said. But he really wasn't involved in the creation of them all. He was involved in the post-production voiceover work of them all. Which is sad, because you would hope somebody that has that executive producer credit and everything would actually be working. And would be working well with others, not just working, but working well with others and treating humans with, excuse me, decency. Ugh. The non-decency is making me cough, but it's just not what you'd want. But that's kind of all I'll say about that. What are your thoughts there? Because between Roiland and Jonathan Majors, it's made me re-question the way I'm thinking about Ezra Miller and The Flash a lot as well. I'm planning still, I guess, I'm going to see The Flash premiere day. It looks like a really cool movie. Everything that anybody said about it has said that it is a really cool and really well-made movie. But Ezra Miller is not all that cool of a person. Done some bad things, and and hasn't gotten the repercussions that even it feels like Jonathan Majors already has. Yes, Ezra Miller has had more repercussions, but it doesn't feel like it, I guess. Like, every time Ezra Miller comes into the news, people are like, yeah, that happened. And then it just kind of goes. Jonathan Majors or Justin Roiland both come in the news once, and their entire bit of everything is rocked for right or wrong, because of course Roiland was technically found innocent on, I think, some of the charges. I don't know if everything, but I know the domestic assault or whatever it was, and that's not the right terminology, but whatever domestic thing he had was he was found innocent. So he's innocent, presumably. All the underage stuff, all the text that came out, that's weird stuff, and that's the reason I would be in the camp of like, just find somebody else to do it. Like, if he's gonna go take that kind of power of being just who he is and using that for just underage people, no, not right. There's nothing right about that. Nothing even remotely right about that. But all that being said, I don't know if I'm gonna go see The Flash day one. I still really want to see the movie because it's supposed to be so good, but I don't want to support a company that, first of all, this Flash movie is not going to mean anything because DC's kind of resetting and everything's going to be new. I enjoyed Shazam as a film, but it didn't really feel like it mattered. I don't know if The Flash is going to feel like it matters, so I don't know. I don't know what to feel about that. So how do you feel about that? Let me know. Rick and Morty, people either do love it or hate it. There's really not much of an in-between. I think it's a smart show. I think it's really fun. I don't think it's smart necessarily in like it's plot. Maybe I don't know a good way of saying that off the top of my head. Actually, I think it's really smart with the concepts they use, with the overarching plots and stuff like that. But of course, most of their actual episodes are just kind of like mocking kind of famous movies or famous TV shows and things like that. And it's just kind of giving a Rick and Morty spin to it. And I love those because I'm a movie buff, so that's just a lot of fun. But it ain't for everybody, and that's okay. Of course it is, but people don't know how to feel about it, which kind of keeps them going, that's great or that's awful, because they don't know where to settle. And that's a lot of things, but I am in the camp of I do really enjoy it. I do love some Rick and Morty, but they gotta change up what they're doing around the actual buildings when they make the films. I mean, when they make the TV shows. But we'll get past the controversial stuff and let's get back into just some fun stuff, because I'm going to have to leave in the next about 10, 15, 20 minutes here. And we've got two things to talk about left. One of those being Martin Scorsese's Killer of the Flower Moon, is Killers of the Flower Moon. I was right the first time. The new Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, Brendan Fraser, and there's a couple other people that I think Jesse Plemons is in there, and a few others, of course, because Scorsese's always just has a great cast. It's got an official release date. Scorsese's newest film, and I believe it says Apple and Paramount. I knew it wasn't going to be a Netflix film because his last film that he did was The Irishman, and yeah, right. There hasn't been one in between then. I'm pretty sure that was the last one. Anyway, The Irishman was done for Netflix, and I know he had some troubles on that. They worked well together, of course, at the end of the day, but streaming, I don't think, was the place for old Marty Scorsese's. But he's found a little bit of love again with Apple, and I think Apple is a little more pertinent about putting things into theaters prior to putting them onto their streaming service. So it kind of bridged the gap for him where he needed it to go. And this is something I've been excited for. I have never read the book Killers of the Flower Moon, but I have it sitting right over on my staircase bookshelf because I knew this movie was coming out. There's new Martin Scorsese's. I love Martin Scorsese's and his films. And I thought, you know what? I like to read. I try to be a big reader. And I'm going to read this book. The film was supposed to come out this past year. Of course, delays, things happen. So I am going to read this book. The limited release date for New York and LA is October 6th for the movie. I'm going to start and read this book September 6th. It'll only take me a week or two to read. It's not that long of a book, so probably a week. But I want it in my brain for that time. Do you read books prior to going to see movies based about books? Because I like to. I don't always, of course, but I like to. Like, I didn't read Dune. I own the first 4, I think, Dune novels. I didn't read it prior to seeing Dune because I knew Dune 2 was still part of the first Dune novel, so I'm going to wait to... And I've seen, I guess, David Lynch's Dune. Kind of accounts for it a little bit, but I'm going to wait to read the first Dune novel until like a month and a half out from the actual like Dune Chapter 2, the film. And then I can kind of go back and watch the first one as well. And it'll be a fun little thing. I don't know. I like to do these things just because it helps prime the brain. It kind of tells you things. I don't think of it as spoilery in any way for the film. I think of, okay, I know things aren't going to go exactly like the book, but we might go in this direction. We might go in this direction one way or another. My anticipation is going to be so much greater, and I think my enjoyment while watching the film is going to be greater because my brain's working. The cogs are turning, saying, okay, this could happen. Ooh, no, that didn't happen, so this could happen. That didn't happen, so maybe we're going here. Whatever it may be, it makes the ride a little more fun. And people don't always agree with that. Some people absolutely hate spoilers of any degree, but I believe it was scientifically proven that anticipation is a stronger sense in humans than like worry. That's anticipation and worry, the same thing. I'm not saying it right, but you're gonna. I think the enjoyment. I need to look up the study. There was a study a while back. I read it. I should have it off the top of my brain. I don't. But anticipatory things feel better to us. We get more of a dopamine surge or something of the sorts than we do whenever like a surprise happens. So no spoilers, I guess, is what I'm trying to say there. Whenever you go into something and it's a complete new experience, we actually, as humans, have more, I think, dopamine response to something that we anticipate to a degree. We like new experience, but we like new experience that we know a little bit about. You know, it's like maybe playing like a Dungeons and Dragons game because the movie's coming out tomorrow, so it's on the brain. But it's something like that, or a Warhammer or something like that, where you're going out and doing something that you know generally things that could happen, but you don't know what is going to happen. Our brains love that. Us as a species, it just kind of clicks, and I like that. I'm much more of that anticipatory kind of person than I am the spoilers free kind of guy. Give me some news. I'm gonna go into that theater. I'm gonna pick apart, watch what's going on, and it's gonna make my enjoyment that much more. It's gonna make me more hyper focused. It's gonna make me pay attention to what's going on, etc., etc. So I'm excited for Killers of the Flower Moon, Martin Scorsese's, Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, Brendan Fraser's new film this year. It's going to be good. October 6th is its release date. I'm saying that too fast. October 6th is its release date, and October 20th is the wide release date. So October 6th, it'll be in New York. It'll be in LA. It could be in Atlanta. It could be in a couple other like big film cities, but it'll for sure be in New York and LA. And then October 20th, it should be everywhere. Within the States, of course. I'm not positive what its international release is or what Apple even does with international releases as of yet. So, real quick, I don't talk about it too often anymore, but we actually do have a Wooger affiliate link. I absolutely adore Woogers. I have 2 vests and a Wooger strap sitting right next to me over here. It's kind of out of the way for me to grab it, or I would grab it to show you right now. But essentially what a Wooger is the strap. There's one haptic feedback thing. So I was talking about 4DX stuff earlier, going to see movies in 4DX. And that's where you're going forward with. If you're watching Top Gun, you're taking off with the plane. You're flying with the plane. You feel that kind of bank of the plane. If you're watching Avatar, you're feeling the blank of those. The bank of the banshees flying in the sky, or the Tolkuns in the water, whatever it may be. And with a Wooger, you get that in the comfortability of your own home, comfortability of walking around the street. All you do is plug your headphones into this little device or Bluetooth it to your device, and you have one strap that you either put on your chest, you put on your stomach, or you put on your very lower back, and there's a haptic feedback little bump. So you can play a game on your phone. You can watch a movie or TV show on your phone. Or you can just listen to some music. And if you're listening to music with it, you get the bass, you get the beat. It's not just bass and like drums or anything like that, but you get a little bit of everything with Wooger. So you feel the music just as much as you're hearing it. And if you get a vest instead of the strap comes with one. The vest has, I think, 4, 5, 6 different ones. There's 2 here, 2 here, and maybe 4 on the back. Oh, it's 4 on the back, 2 here, and then 2 kind of around your waistband kind of area. So you get 8, I think, different haptic feedback sites on your body. And yes, it makes the music perfect. But movies and video games, like I said with the theater and 4DX, when you have a Wooger on and you're just kind of jamming out, or you're playing a video game, or you're watching a movie, you're getting like hit with bullets alongside the people in the game, or get hit with bullets alongside the people in the movie. John Wick with Woogers is a whole different animal because you are in the movie with them and you're feeling the movie just as much as you're hearing it, just as much as you're seeing it. It puts the sense of feel into things that the sense of feel isn't necessarily always there. Where your sense of feel was something like you felt inside. Now you feel it inside, but have that like old interior, I guess, feeling alongside it. It's just a really cool device. And this is all I'll gush about it anymore. But we do have an affiliate link in the description. So if you ever want to go check that out down there. Best way to listen to music, best way to watch movies in your own home, best way to play video games, etc., etc. Description down below. Wooger. We used to do a bunch of Wooger commercials at the end of our Ticket or Skip It's. Go check those out. They are not good. But if you have any cool ideas for me to make a little more fun out of these things, let me know. But the last thing I want to talk about, which I have kind of pushed myself up against the clock here, is Bad Batch, the finale of Bad Batch. We might not be able to. I'll go into more depth when I talk Mando, and we'll talk the actual box office stuff because I like to talk box office, and we haven't even talked box office yet. We've just been kind of scrambling and rambling and rumbling, But Bad Batch finale was just beautiful. It was sad in multiple ways. And it was beautiful. This I might get a little spoilery real quick, just because. Oh my God, Tech, man, Tech. Spoilers here. Spoilers for the Bad Batch season 2 finale. Final 2 episodes here. At one point, the Bad Batch had 6 people on the team. There was Crosshair, your normal crew, Wrecker, Hunter, Tech. They had Omega, of course, and then they had Echo. Crosshair disappeared on kind of his own volition pretty quickly there. Mr. Empire. Echo leaves just to be kind of his own thing. We're down to 4. Tech's dead as of the newest episode. Echo's back. And Hunter and Wrecker and Echo have to go save Omega, who is now with Crosshair. It's just I didn't expect it to go this route. I thought someone was going to die by this end of the season. I thought it was going to be Crosshair. I thought they were going to turn him into like the first type of Dark Trooper, and then maybe the Batch had to come in and he maybe had like a moment of I overrode my program and escape, and they maybe had to kill him just in just in honor of him, like, hey, you were still a brother to us. You don't need to be living this way. We'll kill you if this is not like the way you want to live. If you're being forced to do this stuff. I think that might happen with Tech now. I don't know if Tech's dead. If he's not, he might be the first Dark Trooper. If he is, man, it's not every day animated shows make you tear up, but I teared up. Poor Tech, man. Especially, D. Bradley Baker is just such a good voice actor to play all the different characters he does and to make them all to have them all be as heavily imbued with life as they are, individualistic lives as well, is just phenomenal. To play clones, legitimate clones, and have dozens of different ones that have such individual characteristics. That ain't easy. That's not an easy job. I don't envy it. I do, but I don't. And man, I watched it again this morning and it made me tear up again. Like Tech, man. Tech is so he was my favorite character. I'm kind of pretty logical and I like to go by the numbers, yada yada yada, a lot of the times, and I feel like I got a little more personality than Tech, but Tech was the one that I was kind of like, oh, that's where I see myself over there. I like it. He's not a group leader, but he could be. I don't know. I like Tech a lot. He had a lot of potential to do things. I hope he's not gone, but I kind of do, just so the Empire doesn't do bad experiments on him and anything like that. But wow, I'm legit shocked that they decided to go the way they did. Dave Filoni, Brad Rao, and the rest of that team. Woo! Y'all are doing good. I don't know if Justin Ridge is involved anymore over there, but I know he was always one of Dave Filoni's kind of people. That Dave Filoni knows how to do Star Wars, no matter what. I enjoy it every time he puts his pen to paper and then puts Star Wars in the title there. Even if it breaks my heart, even if it breaks my sci-fi fantasy space loving heart, because it did. And I don't know what to have Omega and Nala Se having to kind of work alongside the Empire, and more so Nala Se being forced to work alongside the Empire because they have captured Omega. I know people's biggest complaint with the Bad Batch is, oh, it's kind of childlike and fillery at certain points. It's never fillery because there's character progression and things going on. It's not the definition of filler. I'll fight for it forever and always because I love me my Star Wars, of course, the good stuff. And it just, I don't think we're gonna ever have that complaint with Bad Batch again. Sure, we may. They may still do some childlike stuff, but literally the childlike aspect of the show, Omega, is trapped and imprisoned inside of a mountain alongside a multitude of her clone brothers and sisters being tortured in front of her eyes for her sake in a lot of ways, and not necessarily because of her, but Crosshair kind of a little bit. She's going to feel some guilt to a degree, even though she shouldn't. Naturally, I feel like a character would feel guilt in that moment, and that's just the way they like to write things. And it's one of those, this is going to be Omega growing up the same way Ezra grew up in Rebels. Ahsoka grew up in Clone Wars. And it's that moment. And it's gonna be a hard moment because if you remember that stuff, it's gonna be really good. We're gonna get some really, really good TV out of it. The Clone Wars as Ahsoka is kind of like getting out of that angsty kind of young teen, like, let's do it, let's go fight, whoop de woo, whatever. And she's like, okay, maybe I should hold back. There's literal lives at stake. She's watching clones getting beheaded. She's watching people lose limbs. She's watching people get shot down right next to her while she's leading them into battle. Starts to toil on a person. Ezra Bridger in Rebels, really similar, except, of course, more of a minor scale because all-out war versus little small rebel cells just starting to form. But then he gets into Darth Maul and all that kind of stuff. The Inquisitors definitely bring kind of the more heavy aspect of that show. And Bad Batch is all of it. Bad Batch is all of it, just kind of perfectly caked in, and it's going to take off in season 3. I cannot wait for season 3. I hope it comes out earlier this year than like December, whenever, or it was supposed to come out December, January this year, and I guess it finally came out in February is when it started. If maybe it was late January, not positive off the top of my head. Whatever it was 14 episodes ago, or 13, 12 episodes ago. It started 12 weeks ago because they had 2 double episodes. Man, it's season 3 is just going to be really good. I have really high expectations, and I expect them to be met. And I don't say that in some pish posh way. I say that because they make great TV. But they made me sad waiting. And since Bad Batch did get delayed, I think to kind of make room for, I don't know what it made room for, honestly, but maybe it was just kind of animation stuff that they needed to delay it for. It didn't seem like it. Hopefully, they are hard at work and already have been hard at work on season 3, and we get it sooner than November, December, January of next year, you know? It'd be nice. Fingers crossed. But y'all, that is it for me today. It is 10:55 over here on the Pacific Coast, and I am 1 minute away from being late. It's 10:54. I'm 1 minute away from being late to my 10:55 showing of A Good Person. So I'm going to go see what Florence Pugh and Morgan Freeman and, well, they're in the movie, but I'm going to see how Zach Braff's, I think, directorial debut is. I am intrigued. I've seen good things. I've seen bad things. I will give you my out-of-theater reaction as I come home. And hit that like, hit that notification bell, subscribe, come back, say howdy. And I will see you Sunday and hopefully tomorrow or Friday. I'm going to try to do another stream, Shelly. So y'all keep your eyes out for that. I will post something in my little comments on the notes section of MCubed. So keep your eyes out for that, and I'll see y'all soon.